this is our presentation for our film Domt. And before we could start filming, we had to undertake some research on past horror films and how the conventions were set. Starting from the first films from the early 1890s all the way down to the 1990s and 2000s, where we got our main influence from. They were mainly teenage catered films that were more mentally thrilling rather than gory films, such as The Grudge, The Ring, and Shaun of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead? Shaun of the Dead.
And from this research, we found that some of the conventions of them films were darkness, mystery, close-ups, chase sequences, screams, breathing, and suspense with the music and silence. And an example of how we use this in our film is here, hopefully.
For our social groups, we decided on people with a common identity for horror. For our target audience, we decided on teenagers from about 15 to 19 and horror fanatics, because we thought teenagers would empathise with the characters more. For our costumes, we wanted to draw similarities but also highlight differences between the two characters. So we had me in white and then Poppy in white, but we made her dirty to suggest that corrupted innocence. And for the house, we got influence from films such as Scream, because we wanted it to be open plan. So basically, wherever Poppy runs, there's nowhere to hide.
We came up with a few ideas, like before we come to a final idea. One of our ideas was a sort of party in the woods with like alcohol, like a reason for a killer to kill because alcohol's bad, sort of like a teenage scene. But we thought that would be quite hard to do because of like it being outside and like weather and things like that, and getting all people to act in it. Another idea that we was going to use was a car. There was like a girl coming out from shopping, going to her car, and an ambiguous man car eventually kills her. But we found that would be hard because one, we can't afford a car, two, none of us can actually drive a car, so we thought that would be quite difficult.
From our research, we found The Ring would be a good film to use Aiden's textuality from, because it was a popular film amongst our target audience being teenagers 14 to 19, and it actually won 7 awards and had 5 other nominations. So, an example of that, The Ring, is
for our final idea, we rested upon a narrative of a supernatural girl approaching a house and eventually killing the boy and then eventually killing the girl. Initially, we subverted the stereotypes by not having a reason for the killing, but we decided that we wanted more of a narrative because we didn't feel like enough was going on. So we decided to give a reason and like put a relationship between the two girls, and we did this by adding photos at the beginning.
Yeah, another main thing in our project was the makeup. We thought we'd like get together before we started filming and do a practice sort of makeup thing to see how long it would take, like any limitations. We got some inspiration off of YouTube.
There was a video there, but it's not working.
So. We found out that it was quite hard to make like the protagonist look scary due to like limitations with the makeup we had and like our abilities and our budget. So in the actual film, we decided not to show the antagonist's face too much because it looks more comedic than scary.
And for our shots, we used a lot of conventional horror shots, such as the close up there, to build a relationship, to show emotion and build a relationship between the audience and the protagonist. We also used a dream effect on her to sort of make her look quite innocent and pure. We also used different horror shots, such features POVs and handheld tracks and close-ups and high angles, but we use the handheld tracks to make the audience feel like they're going on a journey with the protagonist.
When editing our piece, we used a software iMovie, and here's some of the things we did on this clip here. As when we first showed some of our peers, we saw that no one was actually drawn to the girl in the mirror. He was more drawn over to the left side of the shot because of the main light sources there. There's a lot of objects scattered across the kitchen table. So when we cropped the clip, made it more zoomed in. And after showing our peers, then people actually seemed more drawn over towards the girl in the mirror. So that we used crop in there. Another one here was when we initially showed this and actually just looked at ourselves, it looks rather comedic instead of being scary. So we added a sci-fi effect. This just gave her more of a, it made it more supernatural, and it just shows that the differences between the protagonist and the antagonist being different. And in our preliminary task, we learned about the 180 rule. And after we filmed all our stuff and come back to edit, we realised we actually broken it. So luckily we found an actual effect on iMovie that allows you to flip the clip. So basically just turns it completely around. So you see there, the previous scene was actually walking from the left to the right, but before it was, that was going right to left. So after we flipped it, it made it feel more continuous and gave up a more professional feel about it.
Yeah, as Josh just said, since the preliminary task up until the last day of filming, we learned a lot of things. One being the 180-degree rule, another one being time management. We found that we spent too much time planning and perfecting the idea of our product, not realising when we actually come to film it that we'd actually have to reshoot most of it anyway. So yeah, that time management was a big thing that we learned, and also maybe if we filmed a bit earlier, we would have had more time for the sort of adjustments.
We also learned about the effectiveness of sound, found that was probably one of our favourite parts of our film, because we used a lot of syncing to music to give our film a more professional feel. We also used a lot of incidental music throughout to build tension and show key bits of the film, that when the girl's walking along in the mirror, we used incidental music so that the audience is even more drawn to it.
In addition to that, we also learned to be creative, because a lot of our actual part of our film, such as the montages and the chasing, actually was brought up on the spot of location. We actually thought of it then. So in the end, our storyboard was actually rather different to what we actually initially planned. But overall, we felt this made our film look a lot better than we actually previously expected it to be.
Yeah, and then with every shot matters, like Josh said, we learned that when we was looking at our storyboard, we found that the middle bits, we had a lot of irrelevant shots in there that didn't build any tension. So we replaced them with things like tracks and POVs to make them more interesting.
We got quite a lot of feedback from our film from peers in our year. Someone said that they think the music works really well, it really makes it creepy. Someone else said that they like the flashbacks, they really make the film, which we all agree with. We think that our film should be certificated 15, because it's not that gory compared to sort of films like mental thrillers like Saw. So we think they're more 15, and we think media institutions that would distribute our product would be Rogue Pictures, because they distributed The Grudge, which is quite a similar film, and also DreamWorks, which produced The Ring, which is also a film that influenced us a lot. So we think that similar films like that would help us. And also, we don't think we should use Twisted Pictures, because they sort of produce more gory films, and ours is more sort of mental thriller sort of film.
And that's the end. Thanks for watching.